Hey there, welcome to today's episode. It's going to be a live unedited session, so apologies for any background noise. We're going to be taking a look at the MPC Sample. We're going to get some vinyl on the turntable and we're going to cook something up. Before we do that, just very briefly, the first thing, I have a tutorial playlist available for this device. If you've bought one, you're thinking of buying one, if you need a little help, 44 episodes so far, little bite-sized episodes you can just kind of dip into whenever you feel like. I did the same for the SP404 Mark II Koala Sampler and the MPC 3.0 ecosystem, and people seem to really enjoy them, so I thought I'd do the same here. It seems to help people out. There will be more content coming to that playlist as well. That's just the bread and butter stuff to get you up and running and started with the device, but there's plenty more coming to that playlist. This is the MPC Sample. This is my first opportunity to talk about it since I bought one, and I did buy it with my own money. Got no affiliation with Akai. I want to say, though, I'm giving Akai a shout out, and I've had plenty to say about Akai. It's a mix of positive and negative stuff, and the only negative thing really I say about Akai is that they're slow with their firmware and bug fixes and things that I'd like to see them improve as a company. Who knows if they ever will. They're very good at delivering products, but then a lot of those products have got bugs that we're still waiting on fixes for. I'm hoping this doesn't become the same thing, but I do think at launch this is a fantastic little sampler, and that's the key word. It is a sampler. It's not a DAW in a box. It's not an MPC One Alive or anything like that. And it's not trying to be, as far as I can tell. And that's a good thing. Those are great devices, and lots of people own them. And if you're looking for a DAW in a box and you've got a little bit of money to spend, I would suggest buying one of those bigger devices with more bells and whistles and the whole thing. The reason this is cool, and the reason I think a lot of people went out to buy it, one, it's the first truly portable small sampler since the MPC 500. You can include the Live 3 and the Live 1 and the Live 2, that's up to you. But for me, you pick up a Live 3, it's heavy, it's really heavy. So carting that thing around as portable, it's possible, but this is truly portable. It's a tiny little thing. And they've done a great job of the form factor. I like the nod to the old MP60, 60 even. And, you know, I'm of a certain age, so maybe it's kind of geared towards people who have those sort of feelings of nostalgia. Not that I ever owned an MPC 60. I think technically, even age-wise, I probably still wasn't quite in the ballpark for a 60. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's cool. I like the build quality of it. I don't want to go over everything that everybody has already said in 1,000 other YouTube videos. But the build quality is good. The speaker's better than you imagine. It's heavier than what you think, which gives it a certain sense of reliability. It just feels better. They cheaped out on the knobs. These like knobs here, this knob, this fader cap. The plastic isn't very nice. Now, you might be looking at mine and thinking it looks a little bit different. That's because I like to tinker with things. And ultimately, I'm going to take all of these knobs and fader cap and replace them with something else, probably within the next couple of weeks. Maybe something aluminium, something that just feels a bit more premium. In the meantime, because I like to tinker, I decided to just see what it would look like if this knob up here was black, which I think it looks much better with the panel. And with these, it's a very subtle difference. You might not even notice that much on the camera, but I aged them a little bit and put a little bit of dirt in there, scuzzed them up a touch, so that they would look like the ones from the MP60 that have just started to age and go a little bit yellow. The only reason I was doing that was just for fun, and the fact that I know I'm probably going to take them off and swap them for something anyway. It is a shame because the rest of the build quality is really good, the base plastic and stuff. It's all nice enough. But the knobs, the fader cap, you could tell the plastic was just of a much crappier quality. And had they just spent a little bit more money here, invested in it, it would have felt altogether just like a very nice little premium quality product. Anyway, you can swap those out for aftermarket. It's not a big deal. The pads are surprisingly playable. Thought they were going to be, I don't know, just not that great. I love the fact they're not MPE. You were never going to get them on this anyway, but we don't have all the big neon colors in your face. If it was an ideal world and it was my wish list and the way that I would have done things, I would have leaned further into the retro thing. Still in a modern way, but swap this screen out for something that was kind of monochromatic, maybe a bit like the OLED on the SP404 Mark II, just two simple colors. Again, like a throwback, kind of going back a little bit. I probably wouldn't even have bothered with any pad colors if it were me. We never used to have pad colors. We didn't need them in the days of the MPC 2000. And yes, we can do more things. And I don't know, people do like to separate stuff into their colors. But why the devices that come out now, and the MPC Live 3 is guilty of this, it's like a bit of a neon circus. They all do it, and I think it just makes the whole thing look very, very cheap at times when it's all lit up with a ton of different colors. At least with this, the pad illumination is kind of subtle. It's kind of tucked in the background, so it's not so in your face. But if it were me, I would have just leaned even further into that retro thing, because this is its own little animal. It's not using the MPC 3.0 ecosystem. It's not using tracks and programs like the old style. It's just its own little thing. So they probably could have leaned a little bit further into the retro thing. But it's still cool enough. I think it looks great. It's a Marmite choice, though. The only other thing I want to say, in terms of firmware, it does need some things added to it. Normalization, dedicated EQ, preferably per pad, because they could just add it to another one of these tabs. Just give us EQ per pad. I want to see more automation for the mutes, more automation for the pad effects, flex beat. I don't want to get into it here. There's reasons that I want that, but it would make the workflow a little bit better. It would be improved. And other than that, I don't know, a dedicated shift knob for nudging the notes off the grid a little bit more easily. I know people in the comments already, you'll be geared up to type away. I know all the ways you can do it. You can do it through the step edit. I know you can do it after the fact with shift and timing correct. I've done tutorials on this thing. I have looked at most of the device. I'm not calling myself a master, but this should be a real-time thing that just has a knob like this that's easy to access. This, you have to change it here, then you have to apply the effect and then do it. And, you know, I can't even be bothered getting into the whole thing there. Marlo Diggs pointed this out in his video. I'd already had exactly the same thought. We need it just as a dedicated nudge feature that's easier to access than step edit. And of course, when you talk about the samples, you do have offset, but offset only moves one way. It's all of these little things. The point I'm trying to get to is that this has been designed as a sampler, and I hope that it stays as a sampler. The only things I want to see are things that I might expect from a sampler, not a DAW in a box. So I don't want clip matrix and synth engines and all the other crap that you could put in here. I don't want chords and scales and other stuff. I like the idea that this little device makes you switch your brain on and you have to use it and navigate the limitations, and that kind of fuels your creativity. You are more than welcome to have the opposing opinion to that. I get it. Some people just don't see the reason to have limitations. Why have a limitation when you can have a device that does it all? Well, in that case, yeah, buy the MPC Live 3 or the XL, where it's, you know, it's a DAW. It's pretty much unlimited at this point. But there's a lot of us out there that like stripped back simplicity, and I don't want all of those features added to it. You can let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, and I might agree with you, I might not. But for the most part, I think what we have here is something that's really good already, and it needs very minor quality of life improvements to just send it to the next level. And for me, with Akai's track record of being a bit slow with firmware fixes, and there are plenty of bugs in these devices, that's what will happen if people push and push and push and push. Oh, well, let's throw this in. That would be a good idea. Let's put this in. That would be a good idea. It's going to end up bloated. It's going to end up full of bugs. And then it's going to take them forever to try and fix them. And then you'll have to have shortcuts and weird hidden menus because, you know, they didn't design it to have all these features in the first place. As it is, someone has given this some thought, and everything is at your fingertips. Shift to access the secondary menus. That's about it, and that's about all I think there ever should be. A sampling mode where you look at the samples, a sequence mode where you look at the sequences, and that's it. What else do you need from a sampler? As I said, you want the DAW in a box, buy the MPC One, the Live, something else. You're going to be much happier. You'll be, you know, better off. And it's all opinion, it's all personal taste, but as a small, portable sampler, I think they've done an excellent job, even with this current firmware version. But of course, we'd like to see some updates in the future. Probably said more there than I was expecting, but let's get into some beat making. Got the turntable hooked up because let's go back to that idea, the art of sampling. This is a sampler after all. Now, I might use some drum sounds from in here, but of course we could sample those in as well. I've got a record that I picked out, little charity shop find, and there's nothing special about it. I will grab it. But it's this one here. Romantic Piano Melodies, if I can get that completely on screen for you guys. This feels a little bit, it says number 4 on it, this feels like it came out of a box set of other things, but it was just something that was lurking around. Whenever I see piano music, typically I buy. you think of like Mobb Deep and some of the stuff Havoc did. Yeah, just really great use of what was probably instrumental piano music, pitched up, slowed down. So whenever I see it, whenever I see any kind of album with somebody holding a clarinet, a trumpet, or a thing, I'm usually going to buy it if it's cheap enough. So this is what we've got. We're going to go in and check a couple of things. We're going to start, just make sure we do have a new project. My tutorial series covers all of this in greater detail, but we might as well just run you through what's happening. Shift an input config if you like, or you can do it via sample record. This is set to the rear, but currently we don't have anything coming in. So I'm just going to make sure I've got some volume on the turntable. We're going to set this to auto, or we'll set it to on, and then we're just going to play a little bit and adjust the input gain so we can hear something. And we should hear something, hopefully. Here we go, we can start to hear something. Now, hopefully as well, I have a ton of great vinyl, lots of great places to sample from. The problem is that with YouTube's algorithm, copyright and everything these days, it's getting harder and harder to do that and not just lose all monetization to your video. I'm hoping with things like this, when you find these kind of piano music, they're just a little bit kind of, what's the word, nondescript. Typically, if you're not playing huge portions of them, you might get away with it. Sometimes it's classical as well, where it's out of the date of whatever the name is. I can't think off the top of my head. But certain stuff is in the public realm and you're welcome to kind of use it. But this is what we're going to be digging through. So let's start and see if we can find something that we like the sound of. You can hear that's a classic piece of music. But the intro part's kind of cool. So what we're going to do, sample record. We know we're pretty much set up. I'm going to hit a pad. I'm just going to record that first part in. And we'll just take a few little bits. Now, one slight issue with these older records, especially classical piano music, you will find there's a great range of volume there. So you may set your input source to stop it obviously peaking out at certain points in the record. What we need is the normalization tool, so then it doesn't really matter. But on here, you really do have to worry about the input volume, because all you have extra is a little bit of like pad volume where you can boost it. If we get normalization, I wouldn't be too concerned about this because I can just crop it down and then normalize the piece that I want. But at the moment, with this limitation, it's a little bit tricky. Because I could boost just this intro. Which I think that would be better. So I'm going to choose another pad and just do that again. Stop it there. I'll turn the monitoring off. So we've got this piece, hopefully. Another thing, when you've recorded to a pad, a little quality of life thing, it's great that you can do that. I could just keep tapping and overwriting, but I feel like there should be a fallback on that because I do this all the time. I've recorded the sample, I accidentally just tap the pad again, and boom, I've wiped out the recording. Luckily, you can just shift and undo. But I feel like a quality of life thing might be to just have a little bit of a safety net on that so that I don't accidentally do it. Because your instinct is to tap the pad to play the sample, but I always tap it again. And because I'm still in recording mode, I've wiped it out. Which you can say is on me, but it's something that I was thinking about. Now we've got this. I'm going to use our start and end points. One little bug I have found so far is that when I'm doing this, and I'm moving my start and end point, these are latching knobs, but you'll notice my start point's not moving until I change a pad and I come back. And I'll report that to Akai as a bug, but it's, there's only a couple of little bugs I found, but this should kick in now. There you go, we can see it now. And we know it kind of starts over there. Shift and trim, that's your truncate, obviously, to truncate down. And there we go. We got that first piece. We'll erase the other one by hitting erase and just clear that out, just so that we've got another free pad. Not that we need that many, because we've got tons of pads to record to. And we'll just quickly come in and try and find something else, but we might have to adjust the input gain as we do it, because if it's really loud, you'll know about it. Ah, that's cool. Let's just see if we can get the volume for it. Ah, let's go for it. Yes. I like that. Something dark and kind of dramatic. It may have peaked out a little bit there in terms of our level, but we'll go for it for now. I'm going to turn the monitoring off. So we've got a couple of samples potentially that we can use. And again, you can see, I just do it. It's an automatic thing to come back in and tap that pad. So now I need to undo, and I might have to undo it again. Yeah. I feel like there should be a safety net. Like maybe when you're done tapping a pad, although that doesn't make sense. No, forget that. Just an idea. It doesn't work. Anyway, let's go back to sample now. And we can choose our start point. Again, it's not working unless I come off a pad and then go back. There we go. That one, that's where I'm going to trim it. Shift and trim. Just want this piece at the end. Shift and full level, so we can make sure that's on. Hopefully we're not clipping out for OBS. Yeah, there's going to be something cool in there, I guarantee it. Let's get rid of this record off the turntable, just so it's not in the way. We may dig for some other samples in a moment, but for now, let's get started. We got this free pad at the beginning. I'm going to go to select the sample. And I noticed on the internal, some of these breaks in this first break folder, pretty good. Like, that's a cool break. 71 BPM. We'll load it up. And of course, we're going to make our first sequence and set it to 71 BPM. That way we can match it up. I don't know how many bars. I didn't bother counting it. We could go back and count the bars. It looks like there's probably around 4 bars, but we might just record for 2 bars and see if that works. Gonna let it loop again just to make sure it's in line. Feels like it kicks in a little bit quick. Let's just take a look at the sequence. It is set to 71 and it is quantized. So what I might do, I might just slow that down a little bit because it's kicking in a bit too quick. We can do that by going to a decimal point and, bringing this down a touch. Let's just try it here. Still feels a little bit quick to me. It feels like it could be, maybe we can get away with like 70.5. Let's just try it 70.5. I don't care about decimal points as well. I think some people are obsessed with keeping things at an exact tempo. No, it's not quite right because you're hearing the next little kick drum or whatever it is in there. So let's put it to 70.6, 70.7. That'll do. It's good enough. Let's take a look at our samples then. See what we're like for volume. as I said, we only have our pad level volume at the moment, normalized and everything else. I mean, this sample, it's almost normalized. You can see it's almost at 0 dB. And you do have to bear in mind you need to leave a little headroom as you're like building things up. And that's kind of cool. There's something there already. With this sample, let's chop it up. And how do we want to do that? We probably want to do it manually. And I'm not looking for a lot of chops, maybe even two. I do kind of like this here. But then, yeah, let's just put a chop in there. We might not need the first part, but this was kind of what I was interested in, this weird, like, tinkling kind of sound. You could do something there, but I think I'm just going to take the end portion for now. I might try and tune it down a bit as well. If we go over to the tuning tab, let's pitch it down a touch. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think maybe we bring in our own bass and do something. Yeah, it's kind of dark and eerie. It's just my kind of vibe. Let's take a sample. We could dig for a bass, but rather than me having to try and find just one isolated bass sample, let's just use from something from our external, which is going to be my micro SD card. This is mine. I'm going to go to sample packs, and I'm going to go with C Notes, which is one of my own. What I love about this little device, you can stay in the menu as you're searching for samples, still see your playhead, still record, do all that type of stuff. So you don't really have to leave if you want to just try out a couple of different samples. You can also play your sequence and audition samples at the same time. Which just lets me try out a couple of different bass sounds with the sample. And I think this one's good. So just mindful of where we put this. I'm going to put it over onto this pad and load it up. Get that loaded up. I'm going to put this into 16 levels. It's a bass sample, so I'm happy enough to leave it monophonic. Of course, we could switch it to poly. We could come down an octave with the pitch. Now, 16 levels on this is relatively limited in the sense that you load your sample up, 16 levels of pitch, kind of chromatic. But don't forget, with the tuning, you can't use the banks currently to move up and down the octaves. Don't ask me why, but I feel like Akai might extend that to us as a firmware update. And I've got no affiliation with them, that is just a guess, but I feel like they might introduce that. If they don't, though, I wouldn't be disappointed, because with semitones, we can come up and down 24 semitones, anything in between. But if you want to keep it to an octave, then essentially that's 2 octaves down and 2 octaves up. That's usually fine. That's going to be good enough to get you where you need to go. I just want to see what it sounds like if I put it down an octave, so I'm going to come down 12 semitones. I kind of liked it where it was. Let's go back to 0. cool. But we've only got 2 bars in a sequence. Back over to our sequence tab, shift and pad 3 will double that. So we're going to get 4. That's going to allow me, obviously, to extend out the bass line a little bit further. Let's see about doing that. We need to put 16 levels back on. Another quality of life thing. If I have 16 levels on and I just quickly want to nip over to the sequence for something and I come back, 16 levels should still be on. Just leave it on for me where I had it. Now, if I was getting into mixing and mastering, obviously with bass frequencies, when you hit certain frequencies, they feel louder than other frequencies. It's just the way it works. So as that's running through and we get into the second part, I would probably split that as a sample and then kind of just mix it a little bit differently. It's very easy to resample that down and then we could split it up. There's ways to get around it. But for now, I'm just going to leave it, but keep that in mind. One other thing, I can't remember whether I did that at the beginning. No, I didn't. There's one thing I want to do there. I want to turn the compressor off. This is a great compressor, but I don't want it on all the time. Certainly not in this initial phase where I'm trying to balance things and just get things right. I'll come back and turn that on when it's needed. So we'll lose probably a little bit of gain there. But it's not going to have an unwanted effect on the sound until I choose to put it on. It is a great compressor. There is another bus compressor too, but that's good enough. So let's dig for something else. This is the art of sampling, and why I find sampling so appealing is because we've taken one thing from a record, and that's cool. We just take it, chop it up, and you know, that's a beat. That's a beat there. You could just use it. But what's more fun is to take things from other samples and try and make it work. And it's hit and miss. It doesn't always work like that, but we're going to dig for some other stuff. I picked out a couple of records that are sort of isolated instruments. So let me find one. We've got them down here so that I didn't have to dig through the shelf too much. I've got this one, and let me just find the actual record. Yeah, so this one here, I've taken it out its sleeve already. This is Chinese Masterpieces for the Qin, Ancient and Modern. And it's isolated Chinese instruments. It's really cool. It's not something you're going to find on Spotify. When people talk about digging and digging for samples, and I'm no big crate digger in the sense that I've traveled the world and done all that kind of stuff like the true collectors, but there is still a reason why picking up stuff like this is like a little bit of a gem that you find. You're not going to find this on Spotify. I guarantee that's probably not on there. Well, I say guarantee, someone will find it now. But typically, things like this, it's not going to be on your Spotify playlists. It's stuff that you have to kind of dig for, the weird records, the weird sound effects, that type of stuff. Now, let's take a listen. We'll need to go back to sampling. Turn this back on. This is cool. And there's tons of that. There's like so much that you could sample from just one record. And the exciting part is, can we take that and can we bring it in with something else that we've got? Like 2 records that would never meet the chances of them ever being picked at the same time. It's like chaos, but beautiful chaos. It's my take on it anyway. And I love the fact that we can listen to the sequence playing and still dig at the same time, because that's a good way of getting a feel if things are going to work. So there's some stuff in here. I'm not even going to go particularly for any great piece of it, just whatever we can capture, because I think the sounds are right and we'll be able to tune them to fit later on. So let's create a new recording. little loud. Just, to me, it's a personal preference, but that's gold to me. All of that is gold. So let's take that. Again, I've done it again. I've tapped this and I've set it to record. There's got to be some other way of that, other than me just being a bit smarter and remembering not to hit it again. So if we go to this pad, yeah, there, let's see, I've done it again. So I just need to do it a few times until I can see the sample. No, because now we're into doing our sequence and recording events. I might have to just quickly redo that. There's something there. There's got to be a fail-safe or something that just stops me from doing that, because I do it all the time. I suppose that's the failsafe. Again, it's human error. If you just don't tap the pad to stop the recording, then you don't stay in that mode where you can accidentally undo it. I'm learning lessons just like we all are as we go through. So yeah, my tip, it is a bit annoying though, because then I have to go back in when I want to select another pad. I still feel like there's a more elegant solution to that somewhere. Let me know in the comments. We've got this now. Let's run through and we'll see if we get the same, bug again. Where if I go to trim and I move my start point, oh no, it's working this time. So we've got all this cool stuff. I'm just going to pick some parts while it's playing. And we'll try tuning it. So I'm going to make a trim there, and I'm going to put this into chop mode. And I'm going to manually chop this one as well. Yep, okay, got a few pieces. We'll tidy up a little bit, shift and zoom in to start point. Doesn't matter which slice, because I'm going to just move around quickly with this encoder and find the bits I'm looking for, just where I'm not quite at the transient. Weird, but cool. Then what I'm going to do, shift and knob effects. I think I'm going to send a little tape delay over. We're not using any of the effects currently. You can only have one of these. Quality of life stuff, improvements for firmware. I'd like to see at least 2 effects you could choose at any given time. I feel like that should be possible. The resampling's really good, so if they never give us it, I can live with it, but I think they should be able to do that. Couple of effects. The SP404 Mark II, you got different buses where you can kind of send things through, and that's kind of how you send things to the pad. There must be a way. Let's put a little tape delay. Now, when you're in this menu, you're choosing the effect, you select it. You're selecting it to whatever pads you want it to be applied to. So we don't want it to everything, because I don't want it on the drums and all the other stuff. So quickly, I'm just going to go back. It's this pad, number 5, that I want to actually apply it to. So we'll go over here and just make sure I select just pad number 5. Can choose other things as well, but that's going to be it. Then when we come back to our samples and we go back into the chopping mode. You can hear we've got some tape delay going on in there now. Probably needs less in the mix, a little less on the feedback. If there are more parameters, press the shift button. So if you've got more than 3 parameters, you'll find them using shift. Not all effects do. Some only have 1 parameter you can change. record it there for a starter, pitched it up a little bit more. Now I'm going to undo that because I don't like that second part. I feel like I should move the start point over for this one. So while we're here, let's go to chop so that we can move the start point around. I'm just going to quickly move it over there. I might just record the first piece and we'll find something else to fill in the space that we're kind of looking to fill. Yeah, that's okay. To get access to more knob effects for different duties, then the best thing to do here is to do a little bit of resampling. So the first thing, we could adjust the volume. I'll actually just leave it. I'm going to go to kind of our main view by coming out of chop, just so that I can mute everything except this. It's got all that tape delay and stuff in there. So what we'll do is we'll do shift and resample, choose an empty pad, and then we can bring that over as a perfect loop and just put that in. It takes the tape delay with it because we're baking it in, which means we're free to then use some of the knob effects for other things and send them to different places. If we go back to our main view, we just want to take everything out of mute. We can either erase or mute this first part. I think we're done with it, so I'm going to erase. There might have been other chops we could take out, but I just want this one. And quickly, I just need to put that into the sequence. And that should be good enough. I don't need to let it play the whole way through. I want to have something, though, as it gets through the bars a little bit. We're talking about 4 bars. Around the 3rd bar, I'd like something else to happen. Now, we could find something else in here, but for the challenge of it, let's try and find a 3rd record and see what else I've got. I don't know if I actually picked out anything else that was musical. I only really had that in mind so far. What we got here? Music from the soundtrack of Barry Lyndon. There's all kinds of weird stuff down here. I've got more records stashed out of sight that you guys can't see that's down at the bottom. Sorry for my turning my back on you for so long, but let's see what else is on here. On this particular section of records, I keep like instruments, like more that type of stuff. We've got this one, the fascinating sound of Aztec guitars. You can check that out. I reckon we give that a whirl. Chuck it down there. See what we've got. There might be something that we can use. We'll go back to our sample recording. This is still on. I'm hoping that turntable actually isn't making too much background noise. I must remember to turn the monitoring off because it does have a little bit of background noise, this thing. One thing to notice there, you can have an effect set. So any effect is set up on the knob effects. If you've got it turned on, you can have that set to be applied to your input signal as you come in. But I don't want to do that. Because we're not using this knob effects anymore, this tape delay, we're going to bypass it. But there's something here, just a little guitar twang or something that I feel like we'll be able to pitch and tune in. So we'll go back to our recording, put this back on. Just need to remember to turn it off. Okay. Right. Turn the monitor off so we don't get the turntable interfering. I'll leave that one on there for now. I'm going to come out of here before I accidentally touch anything. And I'm just looking for that, like a little short, stabby thing. That might be cool to just isolate. If we just trim that, let's do the start point first. We'll crop the sample, we'll trim it down. And then I'm going to get my end point and I'm going to crop it roughly around there for now. We can tidy up a little bit in a second. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit more on the end we want to get rid of. We can dial it in using this as well. So let's just take it there. So it's like this little short stabby note. And then we'll trim it. And we might move the start point over a bit so that it's right here. Yeah, just a little thing. Now what we're going to do, we're going to turn the knob effects thing back on. Let's try a diff delay. Or, actually, I've had another thought. Maybe we put the diff delay on anyway. Diff delay, I only want it on this pad. Let's see what that sounds like. Why is that not on? Oh, sorry, it's on the wrong pad. We need to go over here. It's not that one, this one. All right, let's work with that. Let's make the mix less, the feedback. Time, how does the time work on this? Is it 2 a division, 1/8? Let's try, yeah. I'm wondering whether we can use 16 levels here. So we use 16 levels, but rather than pitch, we're going to use velocity to do this kind of thing. So now we need to pick the moment where we want that to come in. Kind of like that. I think that sounds pretty cool. Good enough. That's what I'm looking for. The art of sampling, the art of taking things from any given source, because it's just inspiring. Think about how much audio is out there in the world. And I know some people don't agree with sampling. Oh, you're stealing other people's music, you're doing this. I've got a couple of arguments against that, and I don't want to get too far into it. One, I would say, is that a lot of these songs, these tracks, if you're using big chunks of an artist's work, a lot of the time, they're never going to see light of day again. It might be a song that you resurfaced that was maybe once popular, maybe wasn't even popular in the first place, and you're shining light on that. And if you use, companies like TrackLib or whatever, no affiliation or whatever, but you will be giving royalties back to that artist if they're still alive, and obviously, someone claims the royalties for it. So there's that side of things. But the other thing as well is that we're taking small pieces sometimes, little things. There's an art form to that. It's about the ear. It's about taking a bunch of audio, but we're not just being lazy and taking one loop. We're taking the little bits. We're layering. We're like scientists creating something completely new out of whatever we're given. And I do find that pretty exciting. I'm going to reduce the pad level on this one. And what I'm going to do finally, I'm just going to dig through the hip-hop stuff, see if we can find just a little vocal sample from something that we can maybe put in here, just to kind of finish off. It needs something. Actually, maybe we don't. Maybe we use like a spoken word record instead. I've got so many of those. Let's see if we can find something else. I think that's on maybe this shelf here. I have some spoken word stuff. You get like really cool stuff. You'll have seen these. Anyone in the UK, other places, of course, around the world where they've spread to, but you'll find these like sound effects records. I always collect these when I see them because they've just got some like weird stuff on here. It's like doorbells, people eating sandwiches, all kinds of stuff. But all of that, yeah, I think it's great. It's really cool to have like just weird stuff. Vending machine noises. Crazy. Let's see what else. We got this one here. I'm assuming this would be... Yeah, I was thinking it's poetry. So we've got some poetry. Maybe there's something on there. This is a mono record, which was quite common for the time. And let's go back to our sampling. On.
Long past his prime, remember things that are emblematical of love and...
And here you can hear that delay still being applied. For now, we're going to just go into the knob effects. I'm going to bypass it very quickly just to get the recording done.
A charter to commit the crime once more. The tower, against the tower, emblematical of the night, and claim as by a soldier's right a charter to commit the crime once more.
Such fullness in that quarter overflows and falls into the basin of the mind, that man is stricken deaf and dumb. And
I love stuff like that. So let's see. I like that little bit where he said something about the falling into the darkness of the mind, or whatever he said at the end there. That was kind of cool. Let's see if we can find that piece.
Is stricken deaf and dumb. The basin of the mind, to the basin of the mind, that falls into the basin of the mind, that man is stricken.
It'll do for today's episode. Let's get this thing trimmed up. We'll do shift and we'll trim the sample. I don't want to spend too much longer because I'm worried about my battery for my microphone.
Falls into the basin of the mind, that man is...
So then once we've made a bigger trim, we can trim a little bit more.
Falls into the basin of the mind.
And then what we'll do, we're going to go back to that knob effects. We had our diff delay. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to make sure that we have it back on for the original sample that we had it for. But also...
Falls into the basin of the mind.
This one here, I'm going to apply it here. I don't know whether we had some MIDI information behind this. If that suddenly starts triggering, it's because there was some MIDI in there before, which I've got a feeling there probably is. So what I might do, just to be on the safe side, I might put it over here rather than having to go into the sequence to erase, which is no big deal. But let's just do erase and copy and put a copy of it over here.
Falls into...
Now, with this pad, shift and knob effects, I just want to make sure that diff delay is sent to this as well. We might as well just use the same delay. It's going to sound pretty cool.
Falls into the basin of the mind. Falls into the basin of the mind.
Yeah, I'm looking for my start point.
Falls into the basin of the mind. Falls into the basin. Falls into the basin of the mind.
Tune it down a little bit.
Falls into the basin of the mind. Falls into the basin of the mind. Falls into the basin of the mind.
Yeah, good enough. For today's episode, that's where I'm going to leave it. We'll do sequence. And while we're over on the sequence, I'm just going to take shift and double that so that it's 8 bars long, so that I can just put that little vocal sample in maybe around the 4th bar.
Falls into the basin of the mind.
Yeah, that's going to be good enough. If we wanted to, more time balancing things. And of course, this is just a loop, but that could be an idea. And it could be an idea very quickly on this device because of the way you can just create the building blocks of your track with the sequences. To do an example of that, just again, quickly shift and erase, which is copy, and make a duplicate of this sequence. When I'm in here, I'm going to record into this sequence, and I'm going to press erase, and I'm going to get rid of the drums. The only thing is, I can't remember where the drums were. It is on the first pad, so we'll go back, we'll try that again, make sure it's this sequence. Or, actually, it doesn't matter, let's do this one as the intro, that makes more sense. It's asking me, do I want to erase all events? I do. Now, hopefully when we play this sequence, and this is like clip launching when you're here. As long as I press play on this one before the next one, it's going to wait, and then it's going to go into the next one. We need to mix it, we need to master it, we need to do a whole bunch of stuff. Should we turn the compressor on just for the sake of it? We haven't really left that much headroom, so it probably won't do us too many favors, but let's just see what happens. We'll turn the compressor on and we'll try and dial it in just a small amount, so we won't have too much. You get the idea. It's a bit of fun. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I wanted to look at the MPC sample from the view of sampling because really that's the whole point of this device. As I said, I hope it doesn't become something bloated. I don't want to see a bunch of unnecessary stuff in here because when it comes to sampling, this is really what this thing is designed for, and it's just so much fun to do it. We do need some firmware updates. Hopefully we'll see those within, I don't know, hopefully the next couple of weeks. You never know with the Kai. But I'm going to sign off there. I'm just going to play out on the beat, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.